We are back. Everyone fantasizes about the idea of leaving their day job for music, nightclubs, nightlife, wherever it is. But today I'm going to dive into the brutal truth. And before I go into some of my talking points, I'm going to say, on my perspective, I kept like a day office job for maybe the first 6 to 7 years. And there was points where I was making more money sometimes in one night than I was all week at that job. Not to say that I was making that much money. It was the job was that bad, right? I think I was making, I don't know, 15, 16 bucks an hour back then, maybe less at the day job, right? But that day job at that time was just enough to cover my rent and the little bills I had. My cost of living wasn't that high. And I will say, if you do want to go full time at this one at some point, keep your debt minimal, keep your bills as low as possible. Anything that you don't need to pay for every month and you can avoid, do it as long as you can. And even though I say I don't have it took me only 6 or 7 years to leave that day job, what I'll say is these days I probably have 4 or 5 different streams of income. They just all come from something in this industry. And there was a point when I sought the office jobs and I went all in on one thing. And it's great when that one thing is doing really well, but when it's not or when it fades away, you feel like you're starting over. You feel like maybe it's time to move on from the industry. It's very, very tough. So, my first biggest recommendation is keep whatever pays your bills outside of music and nightlife as long as you can possibly do it. If that thing doesn't require that much time because you figured out some unique way to make income passively or through the internet, amen to you. But if not, figure out how to manage it as long as you can. It's very good to know that you have something safe and secure every week or every month that pays your bills because this music thing fluctuates, right? You can have a good year, you can have a bad year, you can have a good month, you can have a bad month. Even at the best, it's going to be like this. So it's always great to have savings and things like that. But sometimes things are really good and then they go bad, and most of the people in the industry can turn that around, but sometimes that doesn't happen. So you always kind of want to be financially prepared for whichever scenario. There's been probably 2 or 3 times in my career where I felt like I lost it all, and I went through a period where I didn't think I was going to ever turn it back around, and I truly considered multiple times moving on. I'm not everybody, and everybody is not me. I'm not saying I'm better. I'm just saying we all deal with these things differently. Be prepared and have the stomach for the ups and downs. And again, keep your job as long as you want. But when that time does come, I'm going to go over some things you should consider before walking away from that day job you don't like. Paid gigs are coming in regularly. Not just one-off gigs, but like enough or consistently coming in that it pays for your bills and some. And remember, this stuff doesn't last forever, the gig stuff. Unless you're constantly on top of, unless you're very, very consistent and constantly maintaining growth, there's a good chance you're only going to have a short run. It's those innovators, it's those that are able to say with as times change. It's those who are really in this world, it's those who are on top of their releases, they're on top of their content, they're on top of growing their fan base and understanding that fan bases have life cycles of 2 to 5 years. And if you're not constantly working to garner the next generation fan base every few years, then the run will end. Your fans get older, they have families, careers, work. Not everybody is lifelong ravers, and you need to be prepared as those trends change. And with that being said, I told you now I have multiple streams of income. As you start growing, think about that. There's tons of things outside of gigs. The music, unless you're doing serious numbers, ain't going to pay your bills. But other things, if you're making a little bit more, I guess, mainstream music, you can look into syncing. A lot of artists offer teaching and one-on-one courses to make money through Patreon or other services, selling sample packs. There's like anything and everything you could do that relates to the talents and skill sets you have, you should do them. I don't recommend doing them too early because if you don't have a following, you're not going to make money, and it's really just going to take away from the goal of growing. Like early on, when no money or very little money is coming in, you should focus on your personal growth. Once that happens and things get busier, add another layer to make money, maintain that growth, then add a third layer to make money, maintain that growth. Don't try to add 5 things very early. One at a time, add, grow it, maintain it, add, grow, maintain it. And then just know your net incomes and be prepared. Like look at what you spent the last 6 to 12 months and look at what you're making and try to foreshadow and project and plan and micromanage your funds and your budgets. And in an ideal scenario, if you can have like a personal savings to back the next 3 to 6 months in case if you go through a hard time, that's great. Some people have family support, some don't. It might seem unfair. It's a reality. Prepare for the scenario you have. It's going to be different than some others. Have a plan figure out what your slow months are. I would definitely say don't rush into leaving your job. Do a few months, or I mean, a few years of gigging and see where the trends are. Like me as a promoter in Miami, my slow season's summer, but my extremely slow season is August and September. I plan and prepare for that, based on even how I program things and spend on my events, but ideally also in my personal life. I mean, again, and if you're able to maintain the things you're doing in your music career or touring career and still balance the day job, try to do it, like if it's not holding you back, if it's not completely crushing the time taken away. Like I knew an artist that was making 3 to 5K a gig touring 5 to 8 times a month, and he still was able to keep his day job because he was on a remote system. And only after like 2 or 3 years of touring at those kind of fees, he finally decided to walk away. He was afraid to do it for so long because he had been at this job for 12, 15 years. He had benefits. They liked him. They understood his career. He was very fortunate in that sense. And he wasn't sure sometimes people will have a quick moment where they make it. They're getting these fees, 3, 5K, and it can end in 6 months or a year. Some make it last a long time. You can look at clubs and festival lineups over the last 5 and 10 years and see how much below those 1% headliners, how much that dramatically changes. Names come and go. And then, yeah, I mean, I would just, like I said, hold on to it as long as you can, unless you're making a lot consistently and multiple other streams of income and your day job is really starting to hold you back. That's really the only time I would consider it. I know it's not the news everybody wants to hear, but it's better to have that extra income. And to add to that, if you're able to pay your life on that day job, then the money you are currently making from gigs and other things within music, you can use that money as a personal investment for your future, but also you can start investing into your career to see that next level growth so you can get to a fee range where then you can actually look at that, right? Very few artists actually consider really reinvesting. I'll talk to artists that are doing really well, and I'll be like, what are you doing on marketing on this release? Are you running some ads on this promoter that booked you in this state? They're like, and they look at me puzzled, and they wonder why they're not growing to the next level. Like every artist that is regularly touring, that is regularly playing monster events, even at the biggest level artists, they never stop investing money to support that growth and to support that consistency. It never goes away. There's never going to be a day where you don't need to invest in something. That is the difference between the ones who succeed and don't. It's one of the differences. And treat it like a business. Have systems and invoices and contracts and content strategy and manage your finances and look at the costs you spend while on tour and ideally set up a company structure. Talk to your tax account, whoever does your taxes, and based on where you're at, ask them the best way to set it up. Here, maybe you do an LLC and you'd have a company debit card and a company credit card. And that way, when you're paying for the services for your career, when you're paying for things while you're touring, all that stuff can be written off. Again, I'm not a tax expert, so talk to yours. Each place, each city, each state, each country has different requirements. Whoever does your taxes currently will be the best person to advise. Break down where money comes in and where you spend it, and they'll guide you on how to set up a structure so you minimize your what you have to give to the government at the end of the year legally. And then just know it's gonna be slow. There's gonna be a run. Even like I said on my side, I didn't even have to worry about marketing music and tour costs and things like that. And it took me, I think, 6 to 7 years it was. So plan for that, know it. This video is designed to brace and make you understand that, it's going to be slow and there's no overnight leaving that day job. And ideally ideally, hopefully your second set of skills are something that can long last in case if this thing doesn't work out for you, which I hope it does. And make sure you really have, like, a proof of concept. There's real demand. It's not temporary local demand. Like, if you get 5, 10, 20 local gigs, don't think that's it. You made it. It's really it's a slow roast. It's a long grow. And that's it. I mean, like, plan your exit strategy when the money is coming in, you know don't burn that bridge when you do leave that job. Don't tell them to F off, leave on good terms. Maybe one day you need to come back. Maybe one day you'll need their letter of recommendation. It's not the most ideal thing right here, but very few make it, and it's good to know that you have a backup plan, but don't also lean on that backup plan. Know that you got to risk it all at some point. And if you can, try to reduce your hours. Don't try to quit cold turkey. If you're doing very well and the company's cool with you, maybe going from full time to part time, that's even better for you. You can give yourself more hours for your work with still having a little sense of security. Remember that quitting your day job doesn't make you a professional. Doing the work consistently, making sure the demand is always there, constantly maintaining fan growth, making sure your music is getting better, the relationships are getting better. Like, all that stuff is really what makes you a professional. Having a run of gigs or a bunch of releases doesn't mean you're pro yet. Being consistent and having tangible growth is what's going to get you to becoming a pro. And don't be ready to jump off the cliff. Focus on growing, focus on fan building. I can't stress that enough. As always, thanks for tuning in. I hope this was very helpful. Good luck to you. And if you want some one-on-one time with me, there's a link in the description below to connect with me. And in the meantime, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow. It really helps us grow. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you. See you on the next video.